Hello and welcome to this video about how to properly format your content for Concourse, our new syllabus management tool for Angelo State. First, just want to give you a brief overview of what we'll talk about today. So first we're going to talk about how to add content without formatting in Concourse. Then we will talk about heading structure and how to make sure that we're following appropriate heading structure within the tool. And finally, we'll talk about how to create hyperlinks. So everything we're going to go over today is in line with our digital accessibility training. So if you are familiar with our digital accessibility standards, then you'll kind of get to see how all of those come together in Concourse and how we're applying those same principles. We're just using a new tool now. So first things first, if you are copying and pasting content into Concourse, we need to make sure that you're doing that without copying over any formatting. So unfortunately, the toolbar in Concourse does not include a button to remove formatting, so we need to choose a strategy to remove formatting before adding that content to Concourse. So you can do this in a number of different ways. One option is to save your working document. So if you usually have like a Word document for your syllabus, you can just save that document as a text file. And that will take care of most of your formatting issues. It may not take care of all of them, but for the most part, it'll do a pretty good job. Another great option for you to do is to use like a notes app on your computer. If you copy and paste your content into that should kind of clear out any of the formatting. And then another option, this is my preferred option, is to use the keyboard shortcuts. I don't know that this necessarily works in all browsers, but I have used it in Chrome and in Firefox, and it seems to work just great. So basically what happens is you're going to highlight your text and copy like you typically do, and then when it's time for you to paste it into Concourse, you'll paste using one of the keyboard shortcuts that I have listed here. So if you're using Windows, you'll do Control-Shift-V. If you're using a Mac, you'll do Command-Shift-V. And that should take care of that for you. So now let's hop over to Concourse, and we're going to take a look at that editor toolbar and talk a little bit more about that. All right, so now we're over here in Concourse, and I'm in our test system, so I'm not messing with anyone's real syllabus here, but here's an example of what would be an animal anatomy and physiology Concourse syllabus, and I have this in the edit mode right now, which you can adjust up here. You typically enter in on the view, and switched it over to edit. And so I'm just going to go right here to the description and pull this up so that you can see what I am talking about. So you'll see our editor toolbar when we're in here, and Concourse is really pretty basic. So this is where we don't see the option to remove formatting, right? So typically that would be like a T with an X through it, right? To signify to remove formatting. We don't have that option in Concourse, but I did want to point out a couple of other things for you in here. So you do, of course, have the option to create bold, italic, and underlined text. You have the option to, change the text color to any of the items there. So when we say that, Concourse helps you create an accessible syllabus, it absolutely does, but we also need you to understand the principles of accessible content, because you could certainly add a lot of content in here that is not accessible. So I ask that you please be mindful and remember, we don't want to underline text. We really want to have that be, saved for hyperlinks. Like down here, this where it says ASU catalog is a hyperlink, so it's underlined. So kind of keeping with those accessibility standards in that regard. You can certainly create text in bold if you'd like. The other thing and we do want to avoid color contrast issues, so be mindful of that and try not to choose any crazy colors in here that might create contrast issues or sometimes student anxiety. I've heard lots of students get anxiety when they see text in red and things like that. So do keep that in mind. The other thing that you'll also notice is there are no options in this toolbar for adding subheadings of any kind. Okay, and that is because the template itself kind of has those headings built in. So now I'm going to switch over and show you, I've got this Word document that has my grading system here, and I want to copy this over. So I'm doing Command C because I'm on a Mac. So I'm going to show you kind of how that works. Oops. And now I'm doing Command Shift V over here. So you'll see it removed that green text that I had before. But now I might decide that I want to add some other formatting options back in, so I can always kind of highlight my text and create this as a bulleted list. And so I have the option to add some of that formatting back in, but I don't have that option to add headings in here, right? So you may have noticed that that is one item that is missing from this toolbar here, is that option to do headings. And the reason for that is because the template in here in Concourse is meant to have all of the heading structure that's needed in the document. And so I will show you that here in just a sec. Okay, so we can see how that content copied over. Everything looks nice and clean because we removed the formatting. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, you know, this is nice and everything, but this does not have all the content I need, right? I'm sure that everyone will kind of be feeling that way when you go through this because it is a template. So do keep in mind that there are a few sections in here that are specifically meant to allow you to build out content the way you want and create your own subheadings. So those sections include the course expectations. So you could create one right here. And I'm going to save that, and you can see how that really nested it right here under course expectations, right? So you've got course expectations and program information, which are both areas where you can add subheadings, as is this section right here on additional items. Those are 3 different areas where you can create your own subheadings and really make the document your own and customize it for your class. So just to show you what that area looks like when I'm in view mode, sorry, I don't want to give anyone a seizure. Here we are with our course expectations, and you can see that subheading formatting that's been applied to our text right there where it says new course expectation. And finally, I wanted to talk to you about creating hyperlinks in Concourse. So if you remember at the beginning of the video, we discussed removing formatting when you're pasting in the Concourse. So that means that you need to add the hyperlinks back in. And that's a really good thing for us, because if you copy and paste but you don't remove the formatting and the hyperlinks remain intact, then they will not meet our accessibility standards. So I don't mean to go off on a rabbit trail here, but as many of you will recall, a syllabus has special accessibility requirements because it functions as both a print and a digital document. So in the past, we have worked to add endnotes into syllabuses so that hyperlinks would be listed on printed copies. The nice thing about Concourse is that you don't have to fuss with the endnotes anymore. If you add your hyperlinks to your document using the editor toolbar, those links get a special treatment when you print the document. So I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. We're going to give you an example of that with this course delivery area. Okay, so I'm going to go in here, and first thing I'm going to do is copy in with a sentence with hyperlinks that are part of formatted text. Okay, so that's the formatted text. And then now I'm going to copy in text that is not formatted. And so it looks very similar. Here you can see there's kind of spacing issues that came over when we copied the formatted text. So that's a very common thing you'll see when you copy over formatted text. But you'll also see that that hyperlink for the word blackboard did not come over. So I'm going to manually add that back in here. All right, so now we have our link. I'm going to save, and you can tell immediately that this bottom link got a different styling on it right here because it has that little arrow. And that arrow signifies to a user that it's going to open in a new window, right? And that it is a link. And this other one up here that we just copied over with the formatting does not have that treatment. So now I'm going to show you this picture that I took of this printed out version of the syllabus. So hopefully you can see the great thing about the printed version of the Concourse syllabus is that if you have correctly formatted your links within Concourse, they get that the web address is printed right next to where the hyperlink should be in the text. So it works out perfectly. It's not visible like that when you're looking at it digitally on a computer or some other device, but it is there on the printed copy, which is exactly what we want for accessibility. All right, and that concludes our video about how to format your text within Concourse. Thank you for your time today, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks again.